Hello everyone, my name is Varun Jain and I work with ET Retail. I'm pleased to welcome you to the second panel discussion of the day. The topic of the panel discussion is how fashion retailers will use technology in the new age of shopping. Fashion retailing has been hit very hard by the current COVID-19 pandemic situation. Fashion retailers had to shut shops during the entire period of the lockdown. But with things gradually improving and shoppers slowly coming out of their homes to shop, it is very important for the retailers to create a safe and secure environment for their customers. And technology is going to play a huge part in the future. We have with us a very eminent list of speakers who will have a discussion on the same. Please join me in welcoming Amar Nagaram, CEO of Myntra, Vishak Kumar, CEO of Madura Fashion and Lifestyle, Sanjeev Mohanty, Managing Director, South Asia, Middle East and North Africa at Levi, Abhishek Ganguly, Managing Director at PUMA India, John Mullins, Area Vice President, Commerce Cloud at Salesforce, and Tejas Kadakia, Co-founder and Director of Easyforward. Thank you very much for joining us today for this discussion. I will start with a very important question. Most of the panelists here are running brick and mortar stores as well. So my question is to the panel, are we going to see a shift in the online channel? Will brick and mortar retailers go to the online channel more aggressively? So we'll start this with Vishak and then we'll keep the discussion rolling. Vishak.
Okay, very good afternoon to all of you. A tricky question, especially when you have Amar in the panel, and I'm working very closely with him to see how we can scale up our business through Myntra, through Flipkart, and so on. Simple answer is, especially for brands, you have to be where the consumer wants you to be. Okay, and this is a journey which is not recent. So we had high street stores, we had department stores, we had mall stores, different kinds of mall stores, then omni-channels and e-commerce aggregators and so on and so forth. So I think it's been a journey, it's been a continuous journey. An externality like this, an event like this, sometimes makes you change gears, especially in the short term. What is very clear is that there is a need from consumers, primarily felt for home delivery. Okay, there is a set of customers who are comfortable going out to shop, but there is also a set of customers who would prefer it if their products are delivered home to them. I think in any case, there was also a lot of force with which technology was pushing the edge on brands to become more and more digital, more and more towards e-commerce. And that was something which was happening anyway. So it's just that maybe an external event like this just has accelerated that process. But with all this, now the models that are emerging also see a lot of convergence between physical retail and online retail, and maybe during the session we will discover some of these.
Right, and Sanjeev, we would like to have your views on the same.
Right. So again, thank you for having me here, and thank you for everyone to join this session. I think I would reflect a lot of what Vishak has right now said. I would look at it from a point of view of online and offline, not either or. And if you really look at the digital transformation journey, I think most of us have undertaken, I think this was on way, I think since the last 24 months. It's not something which has started right now. And the way I look at it is that I think this transformation is only going to get accelerated right now. And I look at it from three buckets. I think one is in terms of the consumer experience. Second is in terms of revenue growth. And third is in terms of go-to-market and cost efficiencies and process efficiencies. So if you really look at these three things, I think there are multiple technologies which are really available. And we work globally, very closely with whether it's Salesforce, which is, we work with Demandware. We have SAP, which is our, a basic infrastructure platform. We are looking at, local partners. I think Tejas is one of our partners for our CRM. We work very closely with the Flipkart group. Amar is here. Myntra is our top customer. And then we work with, other platforms in terms of marketplace. What is interesting is what is happening is that with this event, one of the key changes which has happened is normally in a global MNC, you look at global platforms, and therefore the adoption cycle is basically, it's a medium to long term cycle. Like, you have to implement across 70 countries, then there is a sort of a cadence in terms of both investment, in terms of rollout. So what is happening is something interesting, and I think I would like to touch upon the fact that India, being a technology base and tremendous amount of capability in terms of various buckets, whether it's end-to-end supply chain, B2B tools, or it is Omni or other platforms in terms of small outfits which are doing AI and ML. I think what is interesting is that we are hearing from global that you could actually opt into the basic infrastructure platform like SAP, but you can go for Omni and CRM with local platforms like we have done with Easy Rewards, and we're exploring some other local startups. So that is something which is going to be interesting in terms of how companies and brands are going to look at adoption as well as acceleration of the digital transformation. So yeah, that's where I would leave it.
And Abhishek, what are your thoughts on the same? Do you think it will be accelerated going online?
Well, there is no doubt that there will be acceleration because I think everyone's now looking up to the online opportunity. But as far as we are concerned, we saw this coming a long time back. The writing was on the wall. The consumer trend moving towards online commerce was very clear, I would say even 5 years back. If you look at the process of India becoming from an unorganized retail, majority of the share, to becoming organized and happening through malls and, modern retail happening into India, I would believe that India kind of skipped a generation. Even before everything turned organized, e-commerce came in. And we know with smartphone penetration and with data being available much easier, the access of the entire India to even categories like fashion is extreme now. So we have always endorsed this. I think we have had a clear strategy on e-commerce for the last 5 years. We've only made it stronger. And I would say that it makes us today with post-pandemic, it puts us in a much better situation to be in, to tackle, because of course, online for the moment till, offline has its challenges, is definitely the go-to channel. And I think it's not just e-commerce. I think it's the overall approach towards digital, using technology in the entire value chain, which is very, very important. I would really think that one of the reasons for our success in the Indian market is that we have endorsed technology in various parts of our value chain, not just for commerce. So we have been a convert even before. We see this to be an advantage right now because we have had a head start. But of course, we need to run faster on this front and leverage e-commerce and online and digital even more going forward.
So John, what do you think? Do you think fashion consumer would shift to online channel rather than going to offline stores?
Yeah, Varun, I think McKinsey & Co did a recent study and actually drew some numbers, which was really fascinating. It was a global study, but it highlighted that for people that had never shopped online until the crisis, more than 50% expected that they'd continue to shop online post the crisis. In other words, convenience in the new normal has captured a huge number of online shoppers that never before used that medium.
Tejas, what do you think about the situation?
So actually, we had done a survey, as a part of COVID, which is going on, because we are, that there will be changes in which customers will behave. So I'll read out some of the interesting stuff which came up. 40% of the people have actually said that they're spending more time on social media platforms. 70% of the people have said that they will be happy to start doing shopping with brands which are chat enabled. So I'm saying that it's not only getting the customer online, but I think the third channel, which I believe, and that's the reason we built a platform on it, is on conversational commerce. Right? So a lot of brands are going to start moving into a mechanics where the customer will be happy to chat with the store staff, and then there'll be mechanics to get that shopping to take place. And we've seen a lot of that experimentation already started across brands. And I believe that, that transformation has happened. In fact, the last 3 months across the brands which we have been functioning, we've seen that happen, that, obviously the customer is going online, but they're also looking for means where the channel is there, which is easier than online. And is there a mechanics to also chat with the store staff, right? So, I mean, if you've seen in China, the thing which is going, berserk is the whole game on video streaming, right? So can I, once the store is open, can I do video streaming, show the store and get the customer to buy? And I believe that will start creeping into the India ecosystem also. And, some of the brands have already started exploring this, and we've been doing active work with some of the brands to get this going. In fact, we're working with Sanjeev also in the phase 2 on getting that up for Levi's. And I believe that will become a huge game changer in how the brand and the customer will interact just beyond e-commerce. Of course, the digitalization is happening, but I think, as both of the, all three were saying that, brands will start using technology far more than what they were, and they will have to start adopting or leveraging the technology to create a core single view of their customer and use that data that they've been able to churn over years to give that experience online. Right? And I believe that's the change which brands will start seeing.
Yeah. So Amar, let me change the question for you. Do you think that offline retailers will, go online in a big way? Are you seeing interest from them, to sell their products on your platform? Or in general, what do you think about the situation?
Thanks, Warren, and thanks for making me part of this webinar, and happy to be part of the City Common. Good to see you, friends, especially on the last day of year for us. To your question, I think the answer was in what the panelists said in the previous question, as if when the transition is already happening as we speak. In fact, that's what we've seen in last few weeks. The offline stores are becoming more and more partners with the online players like Myntra. And we are actually bridging the gap. We're blurring the lines between offline and online. The economy is going to be more digital. And I think fashion is that category that is kind of trailblazing this transition as we speak. And it's happy to see how the brands have come together, quickly understood the challenges. In fact, for us to understand the challenges of offline and offline to understand the challenges of online. And this whole transition happened in a much more accelerated manner than what it would have taken. So this whole transition is happening in an accelerated pace, and that's actually making it more exciting for us.
And also, I want to ask you, Amar, as in, if we look at consumer safety point of view, when consumer is ordering, safety is of paramount importance for them these days. So what is Myntra doing, or what e-commerce in general can do to instill confidence in the consumers that whatever they are buying is safe and has very little interaction with the staff? So what do you think about that situation?
Safety is a top priority, not just for Myntra, I guess. I've actually had conversations with all the brand partners in last few weeks, and it's a consistent sentiment across the board on how do we keep the consumers safe. So it's very heartening to see that's a top priority for the businesses in these conditions. And at Myntra, what we've done is we've literally relooked at every single touch point where we literally redesigned or reconfigured the way of operation, starting with our supply chain operations. And this safety is not just about consumer. This safety is about everyone involved in this process. Our employees, our partners, our delivery guys are also our partners, Mensa partners, all the way to the consumer. So we literally looked at every single touch point across the gamut of things we do as an online platform. And we redesigned our FC operations, our fulfillment center operations. We looked at social distancing is non-negotiable. So we are actually working with reduced capacity to give space for the social distancing practices. In fact, the way the teams have adapted the new social distancing norms, the new way of hygiene in the organization is quite commendable. As an organization, we've also switched a lot of our practices from handheld to foot held, foot operated. So not just the dispensers we are talking about, any operations we kind of tweaked it to be operated by feet so that there's very less transmission carriers, possibilities of transmission. Extending that, sanitization, fumigation, we fumigated our entire facilities, our trucks, shopping bags, literally every single thing we could in our facility. We've educated the 15,000 Kirana partners we work with. This is the fourth for our last mile. we gave an extensive training to all of them on what they should be doing, what they should not be doing as part of the delivery practice. We also encouraged our consumers to actually adopt the contactless delivery. In fact, we encouraged our consumers to go for prepaid orders, which also saw a huge spike in last 3 to 4 weeks. Even on the cash on delivery, we switched to UPI on delivery, where the delivery guy will have a QR code and the consumers can just scan the QR code. So there's absolutely no contact, no ringing of doorbells, no capturing of signatures. And having said that, we're still learning on what's really happening on the floor, what's really happening on the road. Our algos are quickly learning. In fact, the amount of learning our algos went through in last 3 to 4 weeks has been something that we didn't even anticipate for. In fact, thankfully, we are on Azure Cloud, so we were able to spin up more infra to do this kind of learning, and thus we're actually able to react to the needs of the consumer in a much, much better way.
Sure. Vishak, coming to you, if we look at consumers, they are not willing to step into stores, right, as of yet. But, as an offline retailer, what do you think? What are the measures that, any retailer can take to instill confidence in the consumer that they're stepping into a very secure environment and there's really nothing to be afraid of? So what do you think we are doing on that part?
Okay, first things first, a whole lot of customers are coming into stores. Okay, and it varies by market, by type of town. For instance, a couple of cities are more affected than others and so on. But there are a lot of customers in the market. And to an extent, with the kind of social distancing norms, the whole infrastructure has been designed for a lesser throughput at this point of time, and that's okay. We are all getting used to a new normal where there is a heightened level of safety provided to the customer. The entire ecosystem is working towards this, and that's the way it works, because in some of these things, it's a chain, and everybody in that chain will have to be equally strong. So for instance, malls are creating a lot of infrastructure for safety standards, so on. We as a retailer, for us, safety is absolutely paramount. In fact, there is a set of things that I think almost everybody is doing, including hand sanitizers and social distancing and paperless billing and so on and so forth. We've taken it one level further to contactless shopping. Okay, how we are able to give very nice, comfortable contactless shopping. We've been able to give shoppings by appointments so that customers can come when they're assured that there is going to be no crowd and somebody can take care of them comfortably. We have a lot of safety standards for our staff to make sure that our staff are taken care of with good health, including social distancing norms there as well. We have done a whole lot of things for trial garments to make sure that the trial garments that customers wear are absolutely safe. We will learn many more things that customers will want as we go. I think Tejas was talking about video shopping. So a lot of customers are now doing top-up shopping on video, okay, where they have visited the store, they're comfortable with the store teams and so on. So it's very easy for them to be able to build a connection with the store, ask them to show this garment, that garment, all on video. The customer's sizes and alteration details are with us in the event that the customer wants some kind of alteration. And all of that is done with the safety of contactless home delivery. So I think for retailers also, it's been and I would say this, while we have done this as Madura to take the highest standards of safety, many other retailers also, I see, have done this. It's the entire ecosystem which has lived up to the occasion of building a safe environment.
Sure. Sanjeev, you want to add something to this?
Yeah, I think a lot of points Vishak has already covered, and very similar in terms of the whole SOP and how the whole industry and the entire value chain has come forward. I think one thing I would like to add is that I think a tremendous amount of time was invested in terms of training of our store staff. I think we have across different channels on the physical side of the business. We have more than around 5,000 store staff, and I think average of 7 to 8 hours of training had gone in. The other thing I would like to add is that we had a bit of an advantage as a multinational retailer, that we had the playbook from China because they came out of the COVID situation. So they had actually gone and done the heavy lifting in terms of what is happening and, what are the kind of procedures, SOPs, what are the learnings. I think that was shared across the entire enterprise. And the other thing is that in terms of that playbook, not only in terms of health and safety, but also we have a division which is basically the artificial intelligence division. So what they had done is they had developed a complex algorithm, even though it's difficult to apply across all markets. But there are markets where the COVID cases were pretty linear, the containment zone numbers were fed in, and therefore one could really predict with a definite accuracy in terms of what could be the footfalls and what was the scale. And as we're getting more markets out in terms of Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand is, for example, ahead of last year. You have parts of Europe, which is basically, so now we have more rich data, and that data is being now used in terms of both not only customer behavior, but also in terms of leveraging the CRM data to really see what we can do. And as Vishak was mentioning that, the curbside pickup or contactless or digital payments, video shopping, all of that, at an enterprise level, we're trying to scale up as the markets continue to open.
Sure. So John, what do you think? What are the new technologies that can be implemented to create a safer environment for the consumers?
Yeah, look, I think Salesforce is doing a few things in this area. I think one of them is, obviously putting in place systems as we have with our work.com offerings that we've released to enable businesses to open up post-COVID more effectively and in a safe way. And that's things like, recording who's been within a store, and also, managing staff more effectively, ensuring that people's welfare is being recorded, and positively in the scheduling of staff, and really, I guess, taking a lot of the guesswork out of the management, out of who comes in contact with who in a store or office environment.
Sure. Abhishek, I want to ask you, now consumer behavior might change in the future. Maybe what he was buying earlier may not be, they might not seek those things now. They might rationalize their shopping behavior. So I wanted to understand from you, can we use technology to predict the future consumer demand? Can we predict consumer behavior in the future? As in what kind of garments they're going to pick and what is going to be the fast selling items going ahead? So is there any mechanism or something that we are doing?
So technology will definitely help in prediction, and also it will help in reaction. And right from creating a product dashboard, to creating what kind of assortment one needs to carry in which kind of channels, which kind of stores. I think technology, and a lot of it will be AI led, will definitely enable commerce in both offline and online. And you're absolutely right. One of the things that will emerge out of COVID is changing consumer behavior. And brands and retailers have to really tie into that and react quickly. One of the criticisms I always had for our industry is that we have a very long product life cycle, right? From the time products are designed, or the thought process of creating a product, to actually retailed in the store. That's a very long process. And hence the supply chain is today tuned to that. Now these need to be crashed and relooked at as consumer behavior changes. And we will all have to, and brands and retailers which do this reaction faster, with the help of technology and with the help of a very nimble mindset, not being fixated to an archaic thought process, I think they will be very successful.
Vishak, you were saying something?
Yes, I just wanted to add to what Abhishek said. Look, something as simple in terms of technology as search of what is it that customers were searching for that they did not get has thrown such nuggets of information. I'll give you an example. A whole lot of search came for wash and wear. Okay, clothes that you don't have to iron before you wear them. Okay, And I can tell you, we have a line in Louis Philippe called PUMA Press, which is a wash and wear shirt. You don't need to iron it. It used to be the ultimate boardroom shirt, okay? But today, customers are wearing it because of its wash and wear properties. Another search word was quick dry. So a lot of customers, especially in rainy markets, searching for quick dry. And again, creating products which would dry quickly and so on. So I think technology can cut through a lot of these things and make it easy for you. And then, like Abhishek said, similarly, technology can help you to crunch lead times, to crunch supply chain lead times. So today we are working on something called C2B, which is CAD to bulk with our mills, and all of that happening in 30 days. So CAD to bulk, and with almost hands-free, no samples, nothing. It's going straight, and it's working very closely with the mills to be able to deliver products which are really, really fast and hence responding to ever-changing needs of consumers. Today, every fortnight consumer needs are changing. You need to be agile enough to be able to respond to that.
Sure. And Amar, do you see a change in consumer buying pattern, and do you think technology can help retailers like you to assess what's going to be in demand in future in these times?
Technology would definitely enable us. In fact, the reason why the businesses should be digital is technology is the only way to be truly consumer first or consumer centric. There is absolute, that's the absolute way to actually reach the consumer, understand the consumer. And I can give a live example from last 3 months on Myntra. During the lockdown, when we were not operational, we switched into a content-led platform. It was total content. And we were just putting out content. In fact, we started with file content that we already had. We quickly realized there was a need for do-it-yourself kind of content. And then we started listening more and more to the consumers, and that kind of actually led to a way to understand what consumers might be needing once the lockdown lifts. So that insight translating into, and like Vishak said, search is a great way to understand what users are looking for. And that's where most of our investments go in terms of technology, understanding that intent, capturing that intent, and making the entire experience around that intent. I mean, it's like the golden path for a consumer on an online platform. If you can capture the intent and show the relevant content, it's like the user is bound to do a purchase on the platform. I also agree with what Abhishek said. Technology is the only way, I believe, to change the age-old practices of the fashion industry. It's actually a real shot at going towards on-demand manufacturing. If we can take the insights from the consumers and pass it on to our brand partners, and if brand partners can react to it, which is actually what happened in last 2.5, 3 months, the amount of athleisure wear, the comfort wear, the work from home essentials that came onto our platform from our brand partners in such a short time, which is also one of the reasons why we are now sitting at a very, very healthy inventory level, because it was in such a short time that we captured the intent, reacted to it, and made relevant content available for the consumer. So that's how I see the technology playing both on the consumer side and on the business side. And it's going to be one big, not just an enabling factor, but it's something that is going to change the game forever.
Right. Sanjeev, you want to add something to this discussion? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I'll just take the what Vishak, Abhishek, Kumar, everybody discussed. One of the technologies in terms of digitizing the whole end-to-end supply chain process is we had launched in 2018 and a technology called FLX. What it does is that it basically digitizes the entire wash technology of all our denim, and you can actually, instead of the physical process, you could actually do it on laser. So what it does is that it allows you to select the wash at the last minute, and therefore whatever the search trends are there, you could actually take it and be very close to the market. The other thing which is happening is that typically physical retailers have channel partners coming to book the next season garments and orders say 9 months in advance. So all that has been collapsed, and there are new technologies which are available where it could actually, we ran a fashion show, we completed our Middle East and North Africa booking for 2021, and there was no physical garment, there was no physical samples. Everything was on digital mannequins. It was almost like a digital showroom. So I think there are multiple technologies which are available, which are allowing you to really digitize the entire process. And in the process, two things are going to happen. One is that you'll get closer to the market, more consumer centric, and also save a whole lot of costs in the entire value chain, which can be then actually passed on to the consumer in terms of sharper pricing. So yeah.
Sure. So John, what do you think? Is there any way we can predict the consumer demand in the post-COVID-19 era? Can we understand how the consumer will behave?
Yeah, Varun, look, I don't think this is uncharted territory for us. I think that, we're, as people involved in the online retail and retail community, we've seen economic downturns in the past, and we've seen historical evidence of what categories perform very well. Health and beauty within our Salesforce Commerce Cloud platform worldwide, we see live numbers because it's a SaaS platform. So every day, every week, every month, we see live numbers from around the world, from hundreds of e-commerce sites, and we get to see what categories are performing well. Health and beauty is a great example of that. In tough economic times, the community purchases more health and beauty products than they regularly would. And it really comes down to that $20 or $10 lipstick can make somebody feel a lot better than a large value purchase, if that makes any sense, Varun. So I think that there are some mapped trends, and as I said earlier, adding to the categories that I mentioned before, I think alcohol and home delivery is another big one for the Indian market, and we're going to see, as has been reported, and the government has mentioned, the opening up of those delivery services is going to change a lot of the way in which people procure those products.
Sure. And Tejas, I wanted to understand from you, how is technology going to change the loyalty programs that we have? And what is the need of the hour going ahead?
I think loyalty program comes second. I think the first thing that will have to happen is the brands will have to start getting customers into their showrooms for the loyalty to start working. Right? And I think the first level of technology that has to start working. So obviously the brands which have been doing CRM for quite some time will really benefit because once the restart starts happening, we've in fact seen that happen in the last 3-4 weeks in stores which have opened up. The reach to the customer who was already got through the CRM, they've been able to get that customer to spend more. In fact, in some of the use cases that we've done in the last 2 weekends itself, with reaching to a smaller set of people, the ATV of these customers have been significantly higher. What we've obviously seen, and all of these guys will be a better judge on what you're seeing, but you see from the data perspective, is that the people who are coming are only coming with an intent to buy. The concept of window shopping is really getting reduced. Right? So anyone who's coming to the store, they're clearly looking that, I'm looking to buy this, I want to walk out. So if the technology is able to get them to know what the customers already bought, it can obviously help them to make the decision faster at that point. The three things which customers are at this point of time definitely looking, one is safety, the other is convenience, and then the third is, can I get the shopping done? Right? And obviously, all the three guys have anyways put it that a lot of as an industry is coming together to get a lot of these things into action already, right? So be it from contactless payments in terms of POD instead of doing COD, in doing of e-receipts, in running that true view where the loyalty technically will not be limited to a vertical. All brands will have to start making this at an omni level, right? So they will have to start hearing the customer not only from a channel perspective, but across all channels where the customer is interacting. So they'll have to start adopting a mechanics where by all their internal P&Ls are coming in together. And like the way they've got the ERP for their products, they'll have to start adopting the ERP for customers, right? And keep the customer at the center and evolve around it, right? Create things where can I make the convenience of the customer irrespective of the channel where they're coming in. So that blur will start happening for a brand where the online, offline will become the same channel. And as long as the customer is shopping irrespective of it, should become benefit for that customer. So that's one change which I, again, we're strongly seeing across the groups which we're functioning have started really calling it out. Initially, they've always were working in silos, that the online e-commerce team is working separately, the offline store is working separately, and that uniformity is not there. Now they're really talking that, can I make that experience seamless, right? Can I bring in the mechanics where the customer is getting the same benefit across places? Can I make the experience contactless in store, right? So as all the three were saying, that contactless payments will start picking up significantly higher in stores. The scheduling to come and shop will significantly pick up. In fact, one of the surveys which we're doing, where 65% of people are ready that if I get the time to come and shop and if it's scheduled, I will be more than happy to go to a store, because I know that the control of the environment is done. There are not that many people in store, so the look and take will take place. I think the first time, if the customer data is already there for the brand because they've been doing CRM, they really can take the art of personalization and then using that to bring the customer the shopping that they want to do to the next level, right? And in fact, in 2-3 brands, we've started doing this conversational commerce in the last 2-3 weeks. And we've really seen that the ATV of that customer, the average bill size, is almost as same as what the customer would have spent in store, which is almost double what he normally spends on e-commerce, right? So, which means the customer, if given a convenient option to shop and sitting at home, he has an option to either go to curbside pickup or get that product delivered to his house within that 2 to 4 hours. They're more than happy to take that path. So I believe that are the 2-3 changes or transformations which we in fact start seeing in a short time when the stores are opening up. Obviously, I think it's too early to call out on the numbers because it's some of it is still pent up demand. So but obviously that will flatten out in time. And the number of people who were and obviously the people who are also buying right now are again assuming that there could be another lockdown or there could be a situation where they might not go to shop and hence they're buying a little bit more than what they're supposed to. But that flattening will happen. But the brands which are really going to focus on their data of that customer will definitely see that their revenues will start kicking in directly from that customer base who's most loyal to them.
Sure. Sanjeev, you gave examples of a couple of markets where Levi's operates. Can you tell us, what are the technologies that we can use here in India that's still not there, but will be very helpful for fashion retailers in particular going ahead?
I think from a technology standpoint, pretty much most of the technologies are universal and are available. I think one of the things which Tejas talked about, curbside pickup, buy online, pay in store, or buy online, ship from store. Those I think are already available. I think that technology will be adopted much faster. The other thing we are seeing is a seamless integration of online and offline and social of the customer loyalty database. I think that is still a little bit, clunky and broken. And obviously, as a multinational corporation, the investments which are required, like Tejas said, that when you have a infrastructure platform which is really upgraded, like we are upgrading we already are on SAP, but we are globally upgrading to SAP HANA 4, which is the latest technology platform. So you have a very robust platform, and then you bring your app, you get your offline, you get your CRM, and you don't just digitize parts of the process, but you are actually seamlessly digitizing everything, and then layer it with a marketplace and AI ML platform. Exactly how online, like Myntra would have done or Flipkart would have done. I think retailers will have to now look at long-term investments, and therefore right now I think making that investment, people are prioritizing to some technologies. So you need to prioritize. So CRM would come first. There are base level technologies which will come next. Can you do WhatsApp shopping, video shopping? You cannot do everything, right? Because there's only certain amount of bandwidth. And there is certain, revenue parameters and profitability parameters. So how do you prioritize that? I think that is going to be a critical issue. I think from a presence of platforms, I think all global platforms, they have, you have access to, everything, whether it's Salesforce or SAP or, other B2B technologies, everything, we have access here. It's a question of how you want to prioritize and what is the kind of investment cadence you want to follow on that.
And Abhishek, any new technology or something that PUMA India is using and which can be helpful for other retailers as well?
So we were on the journey of CRM, having a loyalty program, integrating it with both offline, online, using Marketing Cloud to create various customer compositions, making personalized communication. So we've been on the consumer side. We've been doing this for a while, and like I said, that this will just get faster in the process. On the business side, I think there are a lot of things that we are now doing, which is using BI tools to understand various consumer changes in consumer behavior, creating dashboards, really empowering the team to take decisions and quick decisions, like we discussed. The supply chain, like where do we have to have our fulfillment centers, and what the assortment for fulfillment centers. This is also something which is very, very new thinking in our company, but we are doing that journey. I think overall, technology, there are various technologies available. We know that. I think it's about the mindset. It's about the mindset, being open to trying new things, failing in quite a few. I remember back in the days when we tried omni-channel, we were ahead of time. Like 5 years back, we wanted to, ship from stores, and we were not ready for it, and we failed. I think it was 4 or 5 years back, and now we're again attempting to do the same thing, which we failed in. So having the mindset to try to fail quickly, pick up the pieces, walk ahead. I think these are the new things, and you cannot have 100% right. If it is 90% right, you still go ahead with it, right? I think these are the mindset changes we are having in our organization, which I would say digital transformation is a very broad topic, but I think it's a mindset transformation which organizations need today.
Sure. So John, do you have any example of the global best practices that retailers are undertaking, to mitigate this challenge posed by COVID-19, and which can be replicated in India as well?
Yeah, Varun, I think there's a great example of one of my fellow panelists. So I'm sure Abhishek from PUMA can talk about this even more than I can. But, PUMA Online have been working with Salesforce globally, and it recently moved over to the Salesforce Commerce Cloud platform in India. And the results that they've achieved, we think, are amazing. So well done, Abhishek and team, and Jackson Fernandez and the team we've been working with. I think, they've developed a very mobile, responsive experience. Their site has seen 100% performance increase over their previous e-commerce platform. They moved to our software as a service platform, therefore enabling new features and upgrades to be delivered automatically 9 times a year. And their team's time has been freed up. So, in legacy e-commerce platforms, I think the teams would spend 80% of their time maintaining the platform and 20% of their time innovating. At PUMA, we've seen the opposite occur since they've joined Salesforce Commerce Cloud. They've really got freed up a huge amount of time to innovate on design, and rather than running that commerce platform. So, hats off to Abhishek and team, and it's been a wonderful joint project between our companies.
Vishak, Abhishek spoke about mindset transformation, and whenever I speak to technology players, they say that Indian retailers shy away from investing too much on technology. They don't want to change their technology. They're happy with the way it is, and they say, because of various reasons, cost of implementation, return on investment, training of staff. What do you think? Will this situation that we are in right now, is it going to change the mindset of Indian retailers? What do you think about it?
Look, I'll not be so harsh on Indian retailers.
Okay.
At first level, let me tell you what we do. I think we've been at the cutting edge of technology through and through. We've been very, very early adopters, whether on omnichannel, whether on intelligent assortments in stores. We were the first in India to move to a 12-season digital trade show model, what Sanjeev spoke about, which they did in Middle East. In India, we were the first to execute that. That required a lot of technology. I was speaking to you about the CAD to bulk creation process, requiring a lot of technology. Entire replenishment model, which works on intelligent replenishment. Something as basic as, Varun, Indian weddings, okay? There's a lot of science to when Indians will get married, because your entire production planning, the kind of assortments you need to create for weddings and so on, depends on which region, which community, which time of the year and so on that they're getting married. We've been able to create a lot of AI tools to be able to predict weddings, okay, across regions, languages, and so on. So to answer your first question, at least for us, I would say we've been very, very early adopters of technology, all kinds of, whether it was large package solutions like SAP and so on, or it is specific technologies from Israel, from some of the local developers and so on. Having said that, I would say that for some of your technology friends to be able to do a better job with smaller retailers, I think they will have to work harder on demonstrating return on investment. Sure. For them to be able to say, hey, buy technology because it's technology, okay, is not going to be good enough. For them to sell technology better, I think they will have to start showing demonstrably clear results. Cause and effect will have to be demonstrated. As that happens, Indian retailers are smart. Okay, so when they can see that there is a clear return on investment, they will take it.
Sure. Amar, you would like to add to this?
I completely agree with Vishak. I mean, India is a country that leapfrogged in many areas, and retail was no exception. Again, it was not done because technology was cool. It was done out of necessity. What technology really brought to this country is enabling us to handle problems at scale. We didn't wait for a lot of infrastructure to be ready. We actually chose technology to solve some of the problems. I mean, in fact, I was hoping that you would come to me on the loyalty thing. So I'll anyway use this. What does loyalty mean to us at Myntra? It's not one more program. It's actually the trust of the consumer. And the trust comes from the fact that we do things consistent. So the scale at which we operate, the technology is the only way to do things in a consistent way. And that's what we've been doing. And are we there yet? Absolutely not. But we have definitely invested into technology that would enable us to do things at scale, that would enable us to transform or in fact adapt the new normalcy or the new need states of our consumers. And the one thing that really excites us is the partnerships that we've built in the industry. I mean, during the last 3 months, 4 months, all the brand partners have come together. We acted as one industry, we acted as one team, we looked at the problem ahead of us, and technology is, I believe, one of the unifying factors. How can we look at the consumer? How can we understand the consumer more? And how can we take things forward? Even on the Omni thing, we have onboarded 50 brands in last 2 weeks. It's not just signing up on a spreadsheet. There are a lot of systems that need to talk to each other. And this would have not happened if this, where I don't know where this myth or perception is that our retailers are slow to adapting. It would have not happened if it was true. They were one of the first ones to come on board saying that let's do this. Let's go into this URS with this new construct. And technically that's how it's been happening. On the consumer side of technologies also, I believe we are actually working on technology where I'm sure West will borrow from us one day. Like Size and Fit is a classic example. All the technologies that you can find, starting from Israel all the way to the Wild Wild West, is something that will only help you figure out the size, not the fit. We are working on something that can actually help us understand what fit our consumers would like. The size is one element, but fit is another element. Two people with the same physique might not be wearing the same fit. So that's the kind of level of detail we're trying to understand. And yeah, I'm actually confident, and I can say this 100% that we're definitely ahead of most of the markets when it comes to technology and its adoption.
Sure. Let me ask this question the other way around again. Okay. So Do you think this situation that we are in right now for the last 3 months has made retailers to leapfrog and made retailers to adopt technology at a increased pace, at a faster pace, which was not the case earlier? Any of the panelists can take this question.
I definitely believe that because of the mechanism which is functioning, a lot of retailers have started to adopt technology, and I think it's not only about adopting technology. You also have to find the right people, right? And I think the challenge which most retailers always have been facing is to have the right resource internally to adopt that technology, because technology availability has always been there, right? The challenge is one of the key points is mindset. And Abhishek brought the point valid is that there has to be a mindset which has to make sure that adoption of technology will take place. Once that is aligned, I think getting any retailer to adopt what technology is not a challenge, right? Because they, as long as you can prove that it's going to bring a certain level of ROI and there's a certain advantage of which has to happen, then rolling it out is not an issue, right? So that definitely is there, and obviously they're also looking. As Vishak was putting it, is rightly that what is the ROI of that technology for small retail? Ready to face it that India do not have extremely large retail footprint as global in organized sector, right? And they will always like to see that if I have to fit that technology for my need, it has to become cost effective, right? And it has to bring in an ROI with the cost which has been put in, so that I'm able to prove that this is working. Right, and I believe that transformation has started happening. The brands are obviously looking into it and seeing. Obviously, there is that element of cost that comes into the picture. As long as you're able to prove that the technology works, they will move. Right? The other part of it is a lot of the retailers have started, becoming customer centric. I mean, I've been selling CRM for the last 9 years, and frankly, the last 1 year, the amount of brands looking that hey, let us become customer centric has become really, really critical. And the last 3 months is even more propped it up, because they realize that they're going to cut all budgets to do ATL videos, right? So they're not going to have that kind of budget to do marketing for new acquisition. Right? So their thing is that whatever is already done, the people who've shopped, let me see if I can personalize for them and let me get them back to come and shop, because that's the only budget they will have to really start at least for this year. And once that happens, obviously the world will start becoming a little bit better. People will start going out, and then that acquisition mode will start happening. The marketing spend will go up. But the adoption has started happening tremendous, and we've seen that people are ready to try out even from small retail. I mean, we're working with some single outlet brands, 2 large scale brands, and pretty much everyone is saying as long as it's able to get the 2 critical things: ease of use, and the second is ROI. I'm ready to try. And as long as that's met, I don't see anybody saying no.
Sure. Sanjeev, Abhishek, anything to add?
Yeah, so I think one of the things I would just want to reflect on what Tejas was saying is that also the technology partners, we are actually, meeting a lot of them again on some things which we were exploring earlier, pre-COVID, have become smarter in terms of, they are becoming sharper in terms of very low or zero investment upfront. I think they are now actually taking the SaaS model to the next level. They're saying that, the upside on the revenue, you give us a share of that. I think that is going to allow a lot of the smaller retailers to not put any upfront investment and get tracking on some parts of the technology. The other thing is that I think India is poised in a very unique way. I think in terms of 3 things. One is that we are a large consumer demand market. We are also, in terms of fashion, a large supply market. We don't need to depend on China or anybody else outside to really bring in goods. I think we have a complete ecosystem. We have a large technology market. So if you look at every technology, whether it's the walk-in counters, whether it is, in terms of ERP, whether it is CRM, I think our engineers are the best in class in the world. I think, the success of Flipkart Group in terms of one of the largest startups has really fueled this ecosystem. I think we have the best brains here. We have the largest consumer market in terms of fashion, and we have also the largest supply base. I think if you multiply this, I think there's an exponential impact in terms of how we can really adopt very quickly. And I think our retailers are very, very smart. The smaller retailers want to scale. And I believe that, post-COVID, I think this is one of the markets, whether it's 6 months or 8 months, we are going to bounce back really, really fast because of the advantages we have.
Sure. So, since we are just nearing the end of discussion, there is one more question that we want to touch upon, and that's on the supply chain part. Abhishek also mentioned that they can look into supply chain, how technology, where to put the warehouses and everything. So I want to understand from the panelists as in, can technology help us to create a safer supply chain and a supply chain that will help us to reach to our customers in a very effective, efficient, and safe manner? Any of the panelists can take this question.
Now, Varun, this is, and I'm sure Sanjeev and maybe Abhishek and Amar will also relate to this. The fashion supply chain has been quite unique in the way it's evolved. And it's been built in a way around a European model of spring, summer, and autumn, winter. And like Abhishek mentioned earlier, with a 9-month long lead time, building things in advance. A lot of focus used to be on trend forecasts, color forecasts, and so on, and things would be done based on that. I think already in the last few years, we saw that a lot of that was changing, and people were creating fast fashion, people were creating much faster cycle times and so on. An event like this, I think Varun should do the following, and is at least in organizations like ours helping us to do that. One is to dramatically change cycle times, okay? And the entire supply chain has to be crunched, okay, to be able to deliver to consumers. I'll give you a very simple example. Let's say post-COVID, as soon as COVID happened, one of the most important things that people wanted was a safe, good quality mask, right? It needed to be created in a certain way, and it had to be from a good brand like, let's say, Louis Philippe. It has to be of a certain aesthetic standard as well, apart from being safe and comfortable and so on. And it needed to be created in 10 days. Okay, it was and Amar is here, he would vouch for this. We were on Myntra within 10 days and with a very high quality mask with a range. By the way, during lockdown, where people could not move physically from one location to another, the entire catalog which was placed on Myntra was digital. It was the equivalent of what Sanjeev said, draped on a mannequin. This was, of course, with a mask, so it was slightly different, but similar technology. And all of this put together with a good quality product within 10 days. I think it's a good way to remind ourselves that the rest of the product supply chain also can go through a reinvention. And we've been taking this on also with a lot of our mill partners to be able to say, how do we cut through using technology, the entire lead time of delivering product to consumer. And when you do that, of course, then information intelligence will also tell you how I can make it smarter, how I can give the right kind of merchandise to the consumer in the month that she wants, and so on.
Right. Sanjeev, you were saying something.
Yeah, so I think I'll just extend on what Vishak was saying. And we recently had our own supply chain backend, the whole digital transformation meeting. And it's unbelievable in terms of how factories, actually small factories, have adopted to technology. And they have actually investment made in these technologies where you're able to digitize garments. You don't need to have a physical sample for approval. We are also looking at AR, VR in terms of making sure that, our merchants don't have to go to the factory, and they can actually remotely, approve a lot of the designs, and the entire collections will be done. And I think these approvals and the whole process was actually taking more than 60 to 90 days. That can get knocked off. And I truly believe, like what Vishak was saying, that we need to move to a season agnostic thing. That really doesn't mean that you'll become fast fashion or something like that. But I think consumer will be the center of the universe. I think brands will have to organize, and retailers will have to organize their ways of working to basically deliver what the consumer wants. And I think digital transformation is the only way that can happen. So that's my input on it.
Abhishek, you want to add to the supply chain part?
Well, I've already mentioned, I think, lean supply chain, flexible supply chain, crashing lead times, using technology to decide on warehousing, fulfillment, assortments. This was anyways on the cards, but I think COVID and the situation will only accelerate it. I actually have an overall point on, while I've been reflecting on the conversation, I think three things on the fashion front and overall use of technology. I feel that technology, definitely use of technology is now super critical, and because it will only get faster. Like we all said, that people are now going to accelerate their digital transformation. And I also think that we discussed that whether it is a small or medium enterprise or large organizations or Indian companies or global companies, their adoption will be quicker. But I also feel on the other side that the digital divide will only grow bigger on the business side, because success in terms of speed and in terms of adoption and use of technology and analytics will have a far larger impact. So doing it right, doing it first, doing it quicker, to actually not getting it right will have a far larger implication in businesses. So while I think that technology will get into businesses in an accelerated manner, I also believe that businesses will have will further the digital divide going forward. And that's something that will come to the fore in times to come.
Sure. And I'll just go to Amar and take his views on supply chain and technology in these times.
I echo with Vishak and Sanjeev on how the production lines can change, the way we produce can change. I said it earlier also, this is a great opportunity for industry to start looking at on-demand manufacturing. We can keep the consumer at the center of everything we do, right from the design all the way to getting it delivered to the consumer. And technology is only going to play a much bigger and much more critical role than it ever did before. And there is no other way. I mean, the only way I see the business is evolving, and it's not just a fashion business. The successful businesses or the businesses that will survive or stand the test of the time will be the digital ones, and the businesses that are hesitant to embrace technology or hesitant to become digital will be extinct. It's as simple as that. And we at Myntra were already partnering with a lot of our partners to be that not just an online selling platform for them, but to be a tech partner as well in as many ways as we can. We have the advantage of serving millions of Indian fashion consumers for the last 10 years. So I don't think anybody understands the Indian consumers digitally like we do. And that's the advantage, or that's the insights we want to bring to our partners and see how together we can help the industry leapfrog into the next orbit of whatever the practices we should be doing for the post-COVID world.
Sure. So John, do you think digitization of the supply chain, automation in the warehouse sector is going to help retailers to, service their customers in an efficient and a quicker way and creating a safer environment for them?
Yeah, definitely. I think integrating elements of the supply chain, giving real visibility onto stock levels and merchandise agility, right? So being able to respond to market forces very quickly. I think managing merchandise sell-through to optimize inventory and to preserve cash are very important. Providing that visibility, nurturing out of stocks across the enterprise, and further identifying new sources of supply to mitigate global manufacturing and supply chain risk. So in other words, I don't think there's going to be a major retailer that in the world that doesn't heavily diversify the suppliers from which they're purchasing in order to mitigate the risks that we've seen out of develop over the last few months.
So John, just wanted to understand from you, what are the challenges and opportunities do you think Indian retailers have to go online in the post-COVID-19 era? What are your views on that?
Well, I think that there's a few trends that we're seeing emerging and great opportunities. So I think that a large number of organizations that haven't been direct to consumer before will open up direct to consumer channels. I think that poses both an opportunity and a threat to retailers as well. we're going to see more and more consumer products companies and manufacturers maintaining their retail relationships, but also selling directly online. So there's number one as a potential challenge and a potential opportunity. The other one I would say is the rise of business to business, B2B commerce opportunities, and to automate those. So, you know, we're dealing with Indian retailers right now that are looking at restructuring the way in which they market and sell their wholesale apparel to Indian retailers via B2B automation and B2B commerce. So therefore, enabling things like contract pricing and you know, contactless services to browse catalogs and to do that in a real consumer-like experience, but dealing from one company to another. I think other opportunities that present themselves as well, I think there's a great opportunity for range extension online. So, you know, we're seeing this trend of not just people becoming part of the big marketplaces, but retailers using marketplace type technology to extend their own online ranges from third parties. So if you've got a trusted relationship with an Indian retailer that you've been buying from for many years, why shouldn't you be able to buy a whole host of other third-party products via that trusted relationship? So all three of those would be things that we're seeing as key trends. And, you know, the ones that I mentioned earlier of contactless service, contactless payment, contactless home delivery, all very, very important.
And since we're just nearing the end of discussion, I would like to, you know, ask all the panelists a couple of takeaway points and a couple of things they want to, you know, summarize the discussion and what is going to be the future of technology in fashion. A couple of quick lines from all the panelists, and then we'll wrap up the discussion. We'll start with Abhishek.
Well, adoption of technology quicker, faster, and it's very clear. Everyone prioritizes that. We need to change our mindset towards that, be open. Online commerce become very important. And not just online commerce, use of overall digital, use of analytics, use of AI in business. And I think these are topics which are no longer on the side and to be taken up on once in a while, but this is something which has to be integrated with organization strategy. Things are tough right now, and we are thinking that online is our savior. I believe online was always a very, very important channel for going forward, but the world will repair and offline world will come back. I mean, that's also something that, you know, experience. We will all get the pleasures of going out again. We will all have the pleasures of going into a mall, to the shopping centers, you know, and touching and feeling products, and that will also happen. So it's not the shutdown of one thing. And I think COVID is only helping us in some ways in thinking our business with sharper eyes, looking at making us more efficient, which is the good part of it. But we should not forget that the world will find ways to repair itself.
Sure. We go to Sanjeev for his views.
Yeah. I'm just thinking what Amar is thinking. Amar is thinking of the El Dorado where he wakes up, post-apocalyptic thing where there are no retail stores. Everything has been wiped out and it's only e-commerce. So I don't think that is going to happen very quickly unless there is a nuclear war or something like that. But I think jokes apart, I think one thing is very clear. Everybody is leaning on to, you know, adoption of technology faster. I think brands and retailers will find ways and to find the investment to invest in that. And I think what is going to be most important, like it was discussed earlier, is going to be leaning on, as business leaders, we'll have to lean on to the organizational culture change. I think it's a cultural change which is more the hindrance. And I think this is going to force us into a situation where we'll adopt faster. And the last thing I want to touch upon is the impact which our industry has on climate change and sustainability. And we are finding that more and more young consumers, more and more consumers are concerned about transparency in the supply chain. They are more concerned about high quality, you know, garments. They're more concerned about their garments and using those garments longer. And I think here we are represented by very, very marquee brands, whether it's Louis Philippe or PUMA or Levi's, where I think we have an advantage as, you know, brands which are loved by consumers. And we need to be continue on our journey on sustainability and making an impact on climate. So I think that is something that's critical.
Vishak, your
I think
views?
Sanjeev said it beautifully. I think all of this technology has to make life better for consumers. The biggest thing that technology can do today is to help organizations to become more agile, more responsive to consumer needs. All of these can be to make lives of consumers better. At an immediate level, it could be to say, can it dry faster? Can a Van Heusen shirt dry faster or iron without not require ironing and so on? But at another level, even beyond COVID and all of that, I think all of this technology has to make life better for consumers. And I think it's not just digital technology. We should also be talking about product technologies, things that we do to product which make life better for consumers. I'll give you an example. If a Van Heusen shirt lasts for 50 washes, as against another shirt which lasts for only 10 washes, I think we are being 5 times better to the environment and 5 times better on the consumer's budget and for his happiness. And to me, technology which gives you a better shirt is also a good thing. Technology which allows you to be more agile, technology which allows you to be more flexible to needs of consumers and give it to him. All of these are, I think, my takeaways, and the recent events have only accelerated that process.
Sure. Amar?
It is more important, or it has been never so relevant to be consumer first or consumer centric. And that is one thing that I would take away from the last 90 days of uncertainty and a lot of learnings and unlearning. As a e-commerce company at the group level, we've always put the consumer at the center of everything, but it is more relevant now that we put the consumer in the driver's seat and we change everything around the consumer, right from understanding the consumer to making a very relevant communication, if not emotional conversation. And then taking those insights and turning them quickly into actions. I mean, be it product development, be it actually getting the very relevant content to the consumer. So all of this is the need of the hour, and the only way we can make these things at scale is using technology. There is absolutely no doubt about it, and technology will be playing a very, very critical role in it. And I also want to make a comment here. We never said it's online, it's going to be online only and not offline. In fact, I've been saying for a very, very long time, it's online and offline coming together. What COVID actually did was accelerated that. COVID is not going to take the users from offline to online. COVID is going to blur the lines between offline and the online. And technology is going to play that role, and we are happy to play that responsible role. We have 3 major partners in the panel here, and very soon we will collectively be making a huge statement in the world of fashion.
Right, and we'll take Tejas' view.
I think everybody's already spoken enough on what technology can do, and I don't think I can add more than what they've done. But obviously, the way just the point there is that as long as brands, when I say brands, is retail brands, start adopting to make it customer centric, and that's what we've been positioning to all brands, that make it customer first. And I believe that's what this post-COVID is going to do, where brands are going to start moving from product first to customer first, and a lot of the brands have already adopted it, but there's a huge evolution left, and I believe that's the most critical part. Adopt it. It will be the next future, and the more you adopt it and more you're agile with it, though the technology can provide the agility, the thing is how you take it for your brand, right? And there's a huge learning curve that has to happen, not only within the top management but even at the bottom management, right? So the technology, not only to use it, but the adoption to the grassroots level is the most critical thing. And I think that's where the trainings, the L&D really come into the picture on how does the technology is useful at the last mile, so that the customer at the end feels the 3 core things. They're safe, they're in safe hands with, be it the product technology or the CRM technology or any other technology which is adopted for them. Is it convenient enough, right? And at the end of it, can that enable their experience to take it to the next level, right? So to bring it at the bottom, can we help the customer personalize their experience? And I believe once we start, getting even 30% of it right, I think it'll just kill the, will be great for the customer, and it'll just hit the brand at the bottom line much better.
Great. So thank you everyone for such an insightful conversation. With this, we come to an end of this panel discussion. And thank you very much for being such a lovely audience. We'll see you in the next panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Varun.
Thank you.
Well
Thank
done.
you, Varun. Thank you.